everybody, this is Perch. Um, Here's something that has always perplexed me, and I don't really mean perplexed. Sometimes I say this confuses me, and then people come into the comments like, "Are you really confused?" I'm using the words very loosely. I think you can understand that, but maybe not, based on what I'm about to talk about. So, to me, one of the things about comics that I think, at least when you were from the 80s, from the 90s, one of the reasons why I think people called it a geek hobby or a nerdy kind of hobby was that it was work. What does that mean? It means that you had to read. It wasn't just like watching TV. It wasn't purely based on physical activities like sports, but comics were something where there was visual and text, and that if you were bad at reading, that comics might not appeal to you. And even when we talk about the kind of image era in the '90s, I mean, look at Spawn. Spawn still had words. Spawn actually had a lot of words. It's kind of crazy when you go to the early issues of Spawn and you see all the captions that he was using there. I mean, it was gorgeous art, of course, not taking that away, but you had to read. That was kind of inherent in comics. And one of the things that has been a little frustrating to me in terms of both the fan base, but also the creators in people who put some of these comics out, is when comics chooses to be stupid, or the people who are in theory reading this stuff can't be bothered to actually read the comic. I always felt like there was almost I don't know if it's the right way to put it, but like an IQ bar. Like you had to get over this basic intelligence test. You had to be able to read and turn pages, two very difficult skills to kind of master. The fact that you had to do both of those in order to enjoy a comic book experience meant, you're weeding out the people who can't comprehend basic things. I mean, how terrible is comics if you're not able to kind of understand basic storytelling? Like so every now and then somebody comes up and they talk about how much they love Watchmen, but then they exhibit a complete lack of ability to think. And so I'm like, well, what is it you liked about Watchmen? Because Watchmen had a lot of kind of deep concepts in there. There's stuff to read. You had to turn pages and then turn them again. Like how you're not showing me anything that indicates you'd be capable of getting through Watchmen. So was it just like you opened up and there were some boobies in there and that was like as far as it went? In which case, why aren't you just going to, I don't know, porn? Just go straight to porn. I see this stuff show up and I get salty, as I think some of you have seen in some of the comments where people will respond to the video, clearly indicating they did not watch the video. I remember the one that had Joe and Ryan and I talking about John Kent coming out and what it meant. And kind of the biggest premise, I think, if you can pull from that video, if you were to sum up the 20 minutes in 20 seconds, it would be, hey, there's a lot of queer characters in the DC universe that are basically ignored on a constant basis. And it would be sure nice if DC could, give them some attention, including Tim Drake, who just came out, but it feels like they're immediately flipping to the next press release they want to get. Meanwhile, leaving behind them a trail of discarded queer characters that they couldn't be bothered with. Like, where is Batwoman these days? Who knows? She's around here somewhere. Probably in Fear State running around. But it was funny to see people in the comments come in and go, these three commentators hate gay people. Which, I mean, I'm just saying, that's a strange take. Just saying. I think you all know what I mean. But on top of that, it wasn't remotely what we were talking about. So what happened there? Did you not watch the video and you just commented on what you thought was coming out? Did you read a bunch of the comments and saw people who didn't like John Kent and just made a flying assumption? Or did you actually listen? Because I'll sometimes come in and go, well, you didn't listen to the videos, did you? And people are like, yeah, I listened to it. I'm like, but I'm pretty sure you didn't. Because it's not like we're disagreeing. I love a good debate. I love it if I can come in and say, I like John Byrne on Fantastic Four, and somebody else can come in and say, I like Jonathan Hickman on Fantastic Four, and we can argue over which is better. That's a great John Byrne. But we got to have a good argument about that. But you can't have an argument with somebody who's just bringing in facts completely from left field. If I say, hey, here's my argument for why Fantastic Four is better under John Byrne, and somebody comes in and says, oranges are not a fruit. Like, We're not even having a what? We're not even having a discussion at that point. So what confuses me is, how is it that comic books, a thing, a field, a product, whatever, that requires reading plus comprehension, both of those pulling together, how is it that so many of the arguments that happen around comic books prove that people are neither able to read nor comprehend what's going on, yet they're still in there fighting? Like that to me, that's always a big disqualifier. And it happens on all directions. We've seen people come and argue for one side, we've seen people argue from the other side, clearly indicating they aren't reading the comics. A cousin to this whole frustration is when you read a book or you read an interview where the creator is clearly not bothered to learn anything about the character that they are writing or drawing. They have zero interest, or they start making comments about the character that are wildly off. And I'll throw this one out there, which is not completely fair, not completely what I'm talking about. But Eric Larson, who decided to weigh in on the whole truth, justice, and the American way thing, he's like, well, Superman hasn't used this since, I think he said, the 70s. And then he put up a cover from Superman in the 70s where truth, justice, and the American way is said. The only problem with that is you can put in truth, justice, and the American way, just that, into Google, and in less than 5 seconds you can see images, because it's literally the first image that pulls up from a comic about 15 years ago. Another one from a Tom King comic. In fact, you can see in the image search results that tweet that Tom King wrote, crapping all over Dean Cain, saying, I don't know, something like, motherfucker, I just put in this in a comic this year. It was 2020. So, I mean, easily wrong. So my question is, like, why would you jump into that debate when it can be immediately proven incorrect? Like, with no work, barely an inconvenience of work. See what I did there? Yeah. So what's going on? Why would you do this? I think there's plenty of arguments, plenty of debates, and a lot of those debates are fun. I still maintain, everybody who's been in one can nod their heads. They agree. Those great debates of Superman versus the Hulk, even the more pervy debates, like Wonder Woman or Sue Storm. Which one is going to be the crazier for you? Whatever it happens to be. Those are fun debates. Those can be very heated. They can be very passionate. Those are all based on opinion. There really isn't a true winner, although that's one of the funny things about comic fans is you get into a debate over who can win, Hulk, Superman, and the people who are fighting aggressively for one side or the other, they absolutely believe there is a definitive answer. You are wrong if you think there is not a definitive answer. There is only one true answer. They will die on that hill. Still, that to me is a fun, healthy argument. What is not healthy or fun are arguments with people who clearly have zero understanding of the source material or care enough to even bother to try. Those ones always drive me nuts. Like, if you can't be bothered to spend 10 seconds with Google, not even a half minute with Google, why are you wading into this argument? If you do, certainly you should come around and say, yeah, messed up there. I was going off memory and memory failed. That's fine. But when you come in and who are you pretending? It's, again, the people who comment on the videos who clearly have not actually watched the video, have no idea what's going on there. I'll let you in on a secret. I hate the titling of the videos, and half the time I just think I'm going to troll. Like, every now and then I guarantee you I'll do it. I'll put something in the title of video like a long discussion about, who knows, Iceman. And then it'll be a video, it'll be like this video. Maybe I'll do that for this title if I can remember. That's the kind of stuff I like to do. But what's really telling in that trolling is if people come in and argue with the video and talk about how shitty it is, having only read the title and not actually clicked anything, and then double down and say they watched the whole thing and they got it. That's the comedy. So again, if I can remember it, and hopefully I will put that as the title to some crazy thing as the title of this video, and we'll see who comes in to argue it, even though it has nothing to do with the content. I again, it's comics. You have to read. You have to understand. You have to. I mean, they're comics take some work to actually get through them. They're not. It's not just pictures. There's pictures and words, and there are comics that are pretty deep and complex and have big, hard things to kind of wrap your head around. If you're not able to do that, like, why are you doing it at all? Why are you in? Why? I never understand the person who hates to read, hates to think about things, and is defending comics or wants to read comics. Those don't go together. It's like saying I'm afraid of water, and I also am dedicating myself to being a championship swimmer. Those two don't go. Anyway, that's one of the things that irks me. How about you? You ever run into somebody like this? Let me know in the comments below, or post your wild theory on what this video is about without actually watching it. That's fun too. And thanks for listening.